from Cedarburg Public Library Radio.
Welcome to another session of Art Talk at CPL Radio at Cedarburg Public Library. I'm Laura BELDAVS, your host, and today we are interviewing Mary Ellen Mueller, who is a local Cedarburg artist. Welcome to Art Talk, Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Jeff. It's great to be here, and may I first say this is such a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to talk about my art here in this beautiful library. We are so lucky to have it, so thank you so much.
Well, we are very lucky to be based in an artistic community and have this exhibit wall where we can feature our local artists' work. So that gives another purpose for people to come to the library to not just only look for books that they enjoy reading, but they can come and look at some original artwork.
Wonderful.
So your artwork, I was looking at your website, and the current artwork that you have here in the library on display are paintings, but on your website you also feature different types of media. So I saw that you do not just oil painting, but monoprints and etchings. Mm-hmm. So yes. Tell me a little bit about the monoprints, because I was looking at them and I typically have seen monoprints that are very abstract in their in the contents, but mm-hmm. you have some more like, I don't know how to describe it, like recognizable things that are very finely made, not very gestural, but have fine lines and that look very much like botany prints from the last century when people made such things, those encyclopedias with drawings of plants and plant matter. So tell me about how you do your monoprints.
Well, monoprints has such a wide variety of ways that you can do them. Mm-hmm. And what's so wonderful about doing monoprints is because of the surprise effect. Mm-hmm. You have no idea how it's going to turn out. Mm-hmm. And so what you're speaking of, I believe, is the monoprint backgrounds that I have used for my etchings. I have applied etchings over the monoprints. Okay. And so that's what gives you the detail that you're speaking of. Then I've also drawn, and you also have to think about you draw in reverse, because then it goes through a press and then you get the opposite image. And so it's really very challenging to do, but very satisfying to do.
So how do you make the etchings? I know that there are different types of etchings.
Right. Actually, etchings is the oldest form of printmaking, starting in the Renaissance with Rembrandt. Okay. And what I do is I take a metal plate. I usually use zinc, but I have used copper. And you the artist puts an asphaltum, which is an acid-resist product, over the etching plate. Then you let that dry, and then you draw in reverse on the etching plate. You put that in acid, and it etches. That's where you get the word etching. It etches into the plate on the areas where you have drawn. You take that off. You put you ink it. You take all the ink off, put it on a press, take wet paper, put that on top, and roll it through the press. And there you take it off, and you get that opposite image. So many times I'm looking in a mirror to look to see how this is going to look. And then with many of my botanical etchings, I am writing in reverse, right, because I put the names
Right, of the plant specimens?
Yes, backwards.
So when you do the monoprints, do you do the monoprint background and then the etching on top?
That's the way I have done it, but I have done it other ways where I have done a monoprint without using the etchings, and that's where I've just drawn on a what's called a matrix, and you draw, and in the same form you wet or ink a piece of paper, and then you put another one on top, and then you draw on it, and then when you take that paper off, you actually have a something that you can roll through the press with more paper. So it with monoprints, it goes through the press many, many times, and everything's a surprise, and that's why I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I would suppose that there are those monoprints where you just put some color on wherever, and then press it. But with yours, do you do a little bit of planning of how you place the color in the background because of you might have an etching going over the top?
Oh, absolutely. You pre-think everything. As in art, you're always thinking about it. And I must say, at this point, that Paul Yank, who recently passed away and is a fabulous Cedarburg artist, I had the most wonderful privilege of working with him for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And he got me onto monoprints. He was just a lovely, very bright, just a wonderful teacher, a wonderful mentor.
Yes, I saw the article in the paper, and I was sad to hear of his passing.
So sad. Yeah. Cedarburg lost a fabulous artist.
So who else has been influential in your work other than Paul Yank?
Well, I've had many different. I'm taking classes all the time. I'm a perpetual student, and I'm always learning from other artists. And so, and then also my peers, the artists that I'm involved with in Cedarburg, I'm always learning from them too. But I've taken classes just from a lot of different people. Helena Elke is somebody who works with the Milwaukee Art Museum and then also at the Groman Art Museum.
Okay.
And I've worked with her, and that's how I got the real early basics of oil painting from her. She's just a very good teacher.
That seems to be a common thread with other Cedarburg artists that I've talked to, that they are always taking classes or they get together and they do stuff art-wise and just always learning new techniques from each other.
Yes.
And I think that goes to the whole creative process of always looking for different ways to express yourself artistically. And, once you've explored a certain technique or media, maybe something else captures your eye and you want to delve into that some more.
Right. That's true.
So tell me, have you gone to school other than these classes that you've taken from local artists? Did you go to college or a school to earn an art degree, or what else is in your educational background?
Well, let me tell you, I have a degree in art education from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and that was a wonderful experience for me, especially between my junior and senior year. I had the privilege to go to Florence, Italy, and study and take 7 credits with a few of the other artists that were in my classes. And that opened my eyes to architecture as a young gal growing up in Shorewood, and then going off to school and not seeing much more, and going to Italy and just seeing the beautiful architecture. And then also that opened my eyes to etching and all of the early Renaissance artists, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, even Giotto from before then, before the Renaissance. And so that really, really helped me know what I wanted to do. And then it just evolved beyond that. But let me just say, even before that, when I was in grade school, I'm the middle of 6 children, and my parents enrolled me at the Milwaukee Art Museum at the age of 8 because they could see that I was drawing at the dining room table instead of watching TV or playing outside. So it was always in me, and that was just, I'm so grateful to them to take time out of 6 kids. I'm taking Mary Ellen down to the Milwaukee Art Center for classes, and I ended up winning an award in Michigan. It was sent over to Michigan, and I won an award. And as an 8-year-old, that was exciting.
Yeah.
And then also I went to Holy Angels, which is now DSHA, and I took lots of classes through Sister Faith, who was just a marvelous, marvelous teacher. So I've really learned through others through the years.
Yeah, it's really monumental when at an early age you get that support and recognition for your art skills and being able to foster that.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. Yeah,
and I'm glad to hear that the art museum had art classes. I know that a few years ago they had art classes. I didn't know that they had art classes.
Way back then,
right? that it's maybe a constant thing that they've had. So,
yeah.
And now they have design labs, so kids can go in there and drop in and make art things.
Right, and that's what we have our grandchildren doing now. We take them to the Milwaukee Art Museum so that they can go into those little labs and create.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I think that's really important for kids to be able to try out different things and explore different media and different types of art, not just visual arts, but, theater and dance and things like that.
Right.
So.
Right.
So tell me about your paintings a little bit, because your style is, I noticed that you really like to use underpainting with the shade of red, and some of them have a darker red, and some of them have like a pink-orange, like a much brighter underpainting. So was there one that you started with first and it segued into the other shade, or have you been both, using both?
I use an oil underpainting of a red, and I think it really just depends upon how thick I put it on. How dark it gets. If it's lighter, then I think that's just the way I start, and that's not necessarily how it that it's been planned.
Okay.
But then I do work from there, and then what I do is draw with a mixture of paint and do an outline of what I'm going to do, and then I color in all the darks and then go with the color. And Shelby Keefe is a wonderful artist. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yeah. Yes, in Milwaukee.
Yes, correct. But I took a class from her, and that's what she had taught me, how to do that. And I've really I took good notes, and I've really sort of followed her example. Although my things don't look anything like Shelby Keefe's. She's a wonderful artist, but that's sort of the same way. So
I guess I should explain what underpainting is for some of our listeners who might not know what that is. And that's basically taking a a base color and covering the whole canvas.
Correct.
Initially, and then you paint on top of that. And then you allow some of that underpainting to peek through gaps of your painting.
Yes. And if you look way back in the Renaissance, they did that. They would put the red on over, many times they were just working on board, and they'd put it over that and then go in with their golds and their lapis blues and their different colors. And so it's been going on for a long time.
Yes, it certainly lends a certain pop in your paintings and gives it a little more dimension.
Yeah.
And I certainly can see your experience in Florence and your artwork today, because a lot of your scenes that you have here in the library are of spaces, architectural spaces, and it shows a lot of building facades and places that you see on the street.
Yeah, thank you. I do architectural drawings of homes and churches, and I've been doing that for years. And so I think I just, ever since going to Florence and seeing all that beautiful architecture, I think I just gravitate towards that.
So your paintings are very vibrant, but your architectural renderings are a little more muted. What drew you to doing the architectural etchings?
Or the architectural drawings, the pen and ink drawings.
Yeah.
That was just, there was a need out there where people wanted home drawings done. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that for years. I did Jesu. I've done a lot of churches too. And people would just ask me. So I've actually, without advertising, I've had a fabulous business through the years. I've done this for, I bet, over 30 years of doing pen and ink renderings of homes, churches, buildings, dentist offices.
So it's a totally different style from your paintings, because your paintings are more vibrant, more expressive, and the architectural drawings are the color palette's more muted, and because it's pen and ink, right? It's a little more, much
more detailed. Where I even get the address written in the home, and
right.
Just a lot more detail. And then I use a watercolor wash to add color on the pen and ink. So that's how that's done.
So do you do those commission only, or do you also do those because you like to, do you go out and say, oh, that house looks interesting, would I make? No.
No, I would only do that if somebody would ask me to do it, because they needed to do it. But it was one thing, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but it's wonderful to be able to do this and have people come and say, oh, our home drawing is still hanging, or we were handing it down to our children. I did one of Jesu. I had the privilege of doing that. Jesu's down on the Marquette campus. And I did that, and one of the older priests saw it and said, he started to cry, because he was just so moved by it. And that's what gives me such satisfaction, and that's why I love to do what I do, is to get the reaction, positive reaction from people where they enjoy it. So
yeah, it's certainly a different process than the oil paintings, because you're with the oil you do the underpainting of the reds, but the architectural drawings are basically the color wash and then the drawing on top.
Correct. Yeah.
So how do you, what kind of things do you do to get into that creative mode?
What do I do? Well, a lot of things come out of just mostly travel. There was a quote that I had that I read years ago, and that is, travel rearranges the cultural furniture of your mind. And I love that quote.
Yes.
And it certainly does.
It does, yes. It does.
And so we've been all over we've been all over Europe, Africa. I've been to a lot of different places, and I always bring something home that I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. But then also, I'll get ideas. There was one time I was taking an aerobics class, and in the middle of the aerobics class, I went, I should do butterflies, etchings of butterflies. And I don't know what it was, the music or the dance or what it was in it. But I came, and so I did a whole series of butterflies, and those have just done really well for me. I've done a lot of them.
It's interesting how your brain makes those connections, even though they're unexpected sometimes.
Right.
But through movement or just doing something totally outside of the artwork, you get these ideas.
Correct. Yeah.
So, when you create your art, do you have something in mind when you're making them?
Oh, yes. And in many cases, I have thought about it for a long, long time. The alphabet book that I have, where I have the etchings of the alphabet, I thought about this for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So this was 3 years in the making.
Sure.
And I found the block printing of the different letters of the alphabet from a 1500s book of letters, and then I knew I wanted to team each letter up with wildflowers, and so I got a lot of those out of my yard. But each letter of the alphabet had to have a flower that began with that letter. Okay. And so it was 3 years in the making. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of thought that goes into when artists do any type of work. There's a lot of thought that goes behind it.
Yeah, I think there's the common stereotype that artists are maniacally working in their studios, and they just are ever flowing with all kinds of visions and creations. But there is that mental process that you need to go through before you can get to that place where you can start the actual work.
Right.
And and every artist has their way of getting to that point. Right. So, and I think it's really fascinating to find out how each of the artists that we talk to here in the library, how they get there.
Oh, it is. It's interesting. It's wonderful. It is such a God-given gift. And I think everybody is creative. Everybody can do things. But it's those who just really work at it, or where it really becomes such a satisfaction for them. They're the ones that do produce. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I know that you're currently showing at the Cedarburg Cultural Center, and or you just had a show there.
Well, I had a couple things in there, and now I have 2 more things. But I will be doing a solo show next April.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be this last April, but because of the pandemic, it's now going to be next April.
Okay.
And then along with the Groman, I have 2 pieces accepted into the Groman Art Museum, which is down on MSO East Campus. I don't know if you know that. Mm-hmm. But I have 2 pieces that are going to be in that show as well.
Okay. And then you have your works here at the library until mid-December 2020 or 2020. So do you have any other plans, or as far as exhibits go, or are you currently working on any kinds of projects right now?
Well, I did do. We have 13 grandchildren, and I did do 12 oil paintings of each of the grandkids. But now we have a new one that's going to be a year, and I like to wait until she's about 3.
Right.
So I'm going to be eventually. I'll be working on that. I do have a piece in the Cedarburg Art Museum now, and it was Masters as Muses. And so I did have one accepted in there, and that's going to be hanging until January. And so that's what's keeping me going.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today, Mary Ellen. And
thank you.
We hope to see your artwork. If you come to visit, listeners, to Cedarburg, if you come to visit Cedarburg in the fall of 2020 or spring and summer of 2021, please be sure to go to the Cedarburg Cultural Center and the Art Museum to see Mary Ellen Mueller's work.
Oh, thank you so much. This is a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It was a pleasure for us as well.